Laura Kinney, aka X-23. She's a clone of Wolverine and was created in the X-Men Evolution animated series before debuting in comics in NYX3 in 2004, and later in her full origin story in X-23 Innocence Lost. She was born in a laboratory, the result of a Weapon X program attempt to recreate Wolverine, and unable to replicate Logan's Y chromosome, the scientists used his X chromosome to clone a female version and raised her as a weapon. From birth, Laura was trained to be an assassin. She was subjected to psychological abuse, conditioning, and torture, and even had her claws forcibly coated with adamantium, without anesthesia. Known only as X-23, she was sent on missions to kill, but despite her brutal upbringing, a spark of humanity remained. When she eventually escaped her handlers, she began searching for her own purpose, torn between the killer she was made to be and the person she wanted to become. Laura's journey took her through countless hardships. She was rejected, haunted, misunderstood, but through her connections with the X-Men, and especially Logan himself, she began to heal. Over time, she earned their trust and respect, and began to form relationships built not on fear or control, like she was used to, but on loyalty and love. And her bond with Logan evolved into something familial. They become like father and daughter in spirit. When Logan died during Death of Wolverine in 2014, Laura took up his mantle in All New Wolverine in 2015 by Tom Taylor. She wore the yellow and the blue, used the name Wolverine, and unlike Logan, Laura often tried to avoid killing. She showed restraint, compassion, and a fierce desire to prove that she was more than her programming. She battled against powerful enemies like the Orphans of X and Kimura, protected and raised a clone of herself, Gabby Kenny, aka Honey Badger, becoming a sister figure and emotional anchor. So she wasn't handed the mantle. She fought for it and earned it. She didn't try to become Logan, she became her own Wolverine. Miles Morales. Introduced in Ultimate Fallout 4 in 2011, he was created following the death of Peter Parker in Marvel's Ultimate Universe, Earth 1610. At first, fans were skeptical. Could someone else really be Spider-Man? But over time, Miles didn't just live up to the name, he redefined it for a whole new generation. Miles is a biracial teen of Puerto Rican and African American descent, growing up in Brooklyn with a loving mother and a more complex relationship with his father. When he's bitten by a genetically altered spider stolen from Oscorp, he gains abilities similar to Peter Parker's, but with a twist. Miles can turn invisible, generate a powerful venom blast, and has a slightly different fighting style, more unpredictable and agile. At first, he doesn't want the responsibility. He's just a kid, terrified of the consequences. But when Peter dies fighting the Green Goblin, Miles realizes that great power really does come with great responsibility. So he dons a Spidey suit and steps into the role. He still struggles with the same things Peter did, balancing school, family, friendship, and hero work, but he also carries the weight of expectation and identity by being a Spider-Man. Over time, Miles earns the respect of the Marvel Universe. He fights alongside the Avengers, the Champions, and even Peter Parker himself after the multiverse merges in Secret Wars. He stars in beloved solo runs, and he anchors into the Spider-Verse and across the Spider-Verse, bringing the soul of Spider-Man to the big screen for a wider audience. So he honors Peter's legacy without copying it, bringing his own culture, struggles, and voice to the role. He's funny, humble, brave, and constantly growing, whether it's fighting the Prowler, facing off against multiversal threats like the Inheritors, or hell, just surviving high school. Miles Morales rises to meet the legacy and then builds something new with it. Kamala Khan. She is the modern Miss Marvel, and she was introduced in Captain Marvel 14 in 2013, then starring in her own series Miss Marvel in 2014. Kamala became Marvel's first Muslim American superhero to headline her own comic, and quickly rose to become one of its most beloved new icons. She's a teenage girl from Jersey City. She's a proud geek, gamer, and Avengers superfan, especially of Carol Danvers, the former Miss Marvel turned Captain Marvel. Kamala's life changes when she is exposed to the Terrigen Mist, activating her inhuman genes. She discovers she has shape-shifting abilities, most notably Ambiguity, allowing her to stretch, grow, or shrink parts of her body at will. So alongside her healing factor and enhanced strength, she becomes a surprisingly versatile and creative fighter. After taking up the mantle of Miss Marvel, in honor of her hero Carol Danvers, she dedicates herself to protecting her community. She doesn't start off fighting world-ending threats, she protects neighborhoods, schools, and the people around her, learning as she goes. And her battles aren't just with supervillains, but with cultural expectations, family dynamics, and self-doubt. As Miss Marvel, Kamala helped form the Champions, and she never tried to be Carol Danvers 2.0. She became Kamala Khan, a hero who redefined what it means to wear the Miss Marvel name. So from comics to animation to her own live-action Disney Plus series, Kamala has proven that she is a great successor, even though they changed her power in the MCU. I'll never forgive you, Disney. Sam Wilson. originally known as the Falcon, and he then took up the mantle of Captain America. Sam debuted in Captain America 117 in 1969 and became the first black superhero in mainstream comics. As the Falcon, he fought beside Steve Rogers for decades, and he wasn't a sidekick. He was a partner, an equal, and often the heart of the mission. But Sam's defining moment came when Steve Rogers was aged into an old man after losing the effects of the super soldier serum, and rather than pass the shield to someone with similar powers, Steve chose Sam. He trusted Sam to carry the ideals of Captain America forward. In all new Captain America in 2014, Sam officially became the new Cap. It wasn't an easy transition, people doubted him, politicians hated him, and even some heroes questioned his word. But Sam made it clear that he wasn't trying to be Steve Rogers, he was being Captain America in his own way. As Cap, Sam took on Hydra, Baron Zemo, and corruption inside the government, fought for the marginalized and voiceless, refusing to ignore issues like racism, inequality, and police violence, and he wielded both the shield and his wings, blending Steve's legacy with his own unique skill set. So him replacing Cap was about carrying the burden of that legacy and adapting it to a new era. He understood that being Captain America wasn't about the flag or the costume, it was about the responsibility to fight for a better world no matter the cost. Sam eventually gives the shield back to Steve, but later reclaims it again, especially after Steve's image is tarnished during the Secret Empire arc. And now in both comics and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Sam stands tall as Captain America. Kate Bishop. First introduced in Young Avengers 1 in 2005, Kate stepped into the role of Hawkeye, not as Clint Barton's sidekick, clone, or successor by default. Kate came from a wealthy Manhattan family, but chose to walk a radically different path. After surviving a traumatic incident where she was attacked in Central Park, Kate devoted herself to self-defense and training in combat and archery. When the original Avengers disbanded, she joined the Young Avengers and became the team strategist, sharpshooter, and moral compass, despite having no superpowers. Inspired by Clint Barton, who had temporarily died at the time, Kate took up the bow and the name Hawkeye, because no one else was stepping up. And when Clint returned, he didn't reclaim it, he respected her enough to share it. Kate's version of Hawkeye is marked by incredible accuracy, on par with Clint himself, willing to go toe-to-toe with gods, assassins, and corrupt billionaires, even when outmatched, and she has a sense of grounded heroism, focusing on helping the people around her rather than chasing world-ending threats. She is starred in solo runs like Hawkeye in 2016, where she works as a private investigator in LA, solving crimes, exposing supervillain plots, and building her own legacy far from Clint's shadow. And like I mentioned, Kate isn't trying to be the next Clint Barton. She is Kate Bishop, and she's earned her place as one of Marvel's most iconic young heroes. In both comics and the Hawkeye Disney Plus series, where she's played by Haley Stanfield, Kate represents the next generation of the Avengers. Sharp, witty, deeply human, and always aiming for better. Robbie Reyes. He is a bold reinvention of the Ghost Rider mythos. Not a cursed stuntman or biker, but a street racer from East LA, with a burning sense of justice and a deeper reason to fight, his little brother. Introduced in all new Ghost Rider 1 in 2014, Robbie brought a new energy to the mantle of Ghost Rider. Younger, angrier, and far more human. So Robbie is a high school student and mechanic struggling to survive in a crime-ridden neighborhood, while raising his disabled younger brother Gabe. Desperate for money, Robbie enters a street race using a muscle car he's been fixing up. But the race goes sideways, and Robbie is gunned down by gang members who think he's transporting drugs. Instead of dying, Robbie is resurrected by a vengeful spirit named Eli Moreau, a former serial killer who now possesses him. Thus begins his life as the new Ghost Rider, not on a motorcycle, but in a roaring, flaming hell charger. Unlike Johnny Blaze or Danny Ketch, Robbie's connection to his spirit isn't based on a deal with the devil. It's a possessive relationship, and not always a cooperative one. Eli constantly tempts him to give in to rage, to kill without mercy, while Robbie tries to channel the power toward protecting his family and community. And that inner conflict is what makes Robbie stand out. Robbie possesses superhuman strength and durability, the ability to transform into a flaming skeletal form, and the power to summon hellfire and create weapons from it. And he has a unique hell charger that moves like a living beast and can phase through buildings and across dimensions. And despite being new to the supernatural scene, Robbie earns the respect of major players fast. He joins the Avengers, fights alongside heroes like Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. So Robbie Reyes transforms the Ghost Rider legacy from one of damnation to one of redemption, and he is the modern face of vengeance. Riri Williams, aka Ironheart. Introduced in Invincible Iron Man, Volume 2, Issue 7 in 2016, Riri is a 15-year-old engineering prodigy from Chicago. She grows up in a tough neighborhood, but she's no ordinary teen. She is a certified genius with a passion for invention, and she earns a scholarship to MIT and begins secretly reverse engineering one of Tony Stark's Iron Man suits, using scrap parts and brilliance alone. When campus security tries to shut her down, she dons the armor and takes flight, literally. And that moment doesn't just mark the birth of a new hero, it catches the attention of Tony Stark himself. After Tony falls into a coma during Civil War II, an AI copy of his consciousness begins mentoring Riri, offering guidance but never control. And that's important. Riri Williams doesn't become Iron Man, she becomes Ironheart. A new name, a new suit, and a new identity built around her own mission, not Tony's. Unlike Stark, Riri doesn't come from privilege or fame. Her drive comes from loss. After witnessing her stepfather and best friend die in a shooting, she's fueled not just by brilliance, but by a desire to protect the people the world forgets. So her journey is about proving she can make a difference, no matter the odds. As Ironheart, she brings advanced armor of her own design, blending Stark tech with her own innovations, incredible intellect, even by Marvel standards. She's often compared to Shuri and even Valeria Richards, so she's walking her own path. She fights villains, navigates grief, she joined teams like the Champions, worked with S.H.I.E.L.D., and even built a version of her AI based on herself, rather than relying on Tony. And as her comics and her upcoming MCU Disney Plus series, we're gonna see more of her in the upcoming weeks, and hopefully it's gonna be a good and meaningful addition to the MCU, not like Dylan Brooke. He's the next evolution in the legacy of Venom. Introduced in Venom Volume 4, Issue 7 in 2018, Dylan's rise from a mysterious child to the new Venom is one of the most compelling, generational stories in modern Marvel comics. At first, Dylan appears to be a regular kid, quiet, awkward, and caught in the crossfire of his father's endless battles with monsters, aliens, and inner demons. But as the story unfolds, it's revealed that Dylan is more than just Eddie's son. He's a unique hybrid, born with the help of the symbiote codex and genetically altered by symbiote DNA. Dylan is part human, part symbiote himself, and this makes him incredibly special in the larger cosmic mythos of the symbiotes. Dylan has a deep, almost empathic connection to symbiotes. He can communicate with them telepathically, he can command or repel them, even when they're bonded to others, and he can generate symbiote-like tendrils from his own body, even without a host. And during the massive King in Black storyline, Dylan plays a crucial role in the fight against Null. And even as a child, his powers is immense, and Null considers him a serious threat. Eddie sacrifices everything to stop Null, ultimately defeating him and ascending to the throne as the new King in Black, the cosmic ruler of the symbiote hive. But Eddie can't remain on Earth to be a father and hero. He's now disconnected in time and space, guiding the symbiotes across the galaxy. So the mantle of Venom passes to Dylan. Now as Venom, Dylan carries forward the legacy Eddie built, but with a new edge. He's younger, angrier, and more volatile, still coming to terms with who he is and the responsibilities placed on his shoulders. But he's also fiercely loyal, brave, and protective, especially of Innocence and his symbiote partner, who has evolved with him. And where Eddie struggled with guilt, addiction, and redemption, Dylan is not a man haunted by his past. He's a kid trying to survive a future that was forced on him. So Dylan Brooke is the beginning of something completely new. Winter Soldier becomes Captain America. Of all the Marvel heroes who have taken up another's mantle, Bucky Barnes becoming Captain America is one of the most popular, emotional, and thematically rich stories in Marvel history. The seeds of this moment were planted long ago. Bucky Barnes was once Steve Rogers' loyal sidekick during World War II, but fate took a dark turn when Bucky was presumed dead after a bomb exploded during a mission. Bucky did survive, but his broken body was recovered by Soviet operatives, and his mind was wiped and reprogrammed, turning him into the Winter Soldier. Years later, Steve Rogers, now in the modern age, discovered that his lost friend was alive, but under the control of his enemies. Steve fought to free Bucky from his programming, using their shared history and deep bond to help him remember who he truly was. Steve succeeded, and Bucky began the long, painful road to redemption, haunted by the atrocities he committed as the Winter Soldier. Then came the moment that changed everything. In the death of Captain America storyline, Steve Rogers was assassinated following the events of Civil War. The Marvel Universe was left reeling, and America was without its symbol of hope. Tony Stark, recognizing the weight of Steve's legacy and knowing that the world needed Captain America now more than ever, offered the shield to Bucky Barnes. At first, Bucky refused. He didn't feel worthy, but eventually he accepted, not because he wanted to replace Steve, but because he wanted to honor him and prove to himself and the world that he could be something more than his past. As Captain America, Bucky brought a grittier, more tactical edge to the role. Unlike Steve's shining idealism, Bucky fought like a man who knew the ugliness of war up close. He combined the symbol of the shield with the pragmatism of the Winter Soldier, often carrying a firearm alongside the iconic shield. His fighting style was brutal and efficient, yet deeply protective, redefining what it meant to be Captain America. And Bucky's time as Cap wasn't just about honoring Steve's legacy, it was about atonement. He faced distrust from the public and skepticism from fellow heroes. He battled old enemies and his own inner demons, but through it all, he earned his place, proving that even someone with blood on their hands could rise to become a symbol of hope. Young Avengers. They were conceived as a younger counterpart to the Avengers and first appeared in Young Avengers 1 in 2005. The series has been noted for its fresh take on the superhero genre, and their stories often focus on the challenges of living up to the legacy of the Avengers while carving out their own identities. The series has been praised for its character development, narrative depth, and for providing a platform for diverse stories. The original lineup of the team includes Iron Lad, a younger version of Kang the Conqueror, who seeks to avoid becoming his future self. There's also Teddy Altman, aka Hulkling, a shape-shifting hybrid of Kree and Skrull heritage who later becomes significant in intergalactic politics. Billy Kaplan, aka Wiccan, a sorcerer with powers similar to Scarlet Witch, who is later revealed to be one of her reincarnated sons. Ellie Bradley, aka Patriot, the grandson of Isaiah Bradley, the Black Captain America, who initially uses performance-enhancing drugs to match his grandfather's powers, but later receives a blood transfusion that gives him genuine superpowers. Kate Bishop, a skilled archer who adopts the Hawkeye name after Clint Barton, and Cassie Lang, aka Sacher, the daughter of Scott Lang, the Ant-Man, who inherits the ability to change her size. And over time, of course, the roster has evolved to include other characters like Kid Loki, America Chavez, and Novar, Marvel Boy. The Young Avengers have yet to be featured as a group in either a major film or a TV show, because several characters have already appeared in various MCU projects, like Cassie Lang in the Ant-Man films, Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye Disney Plus series, and America Chavez in the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Wiccan in Agatha All Along, and many others. So we'll see how that's gonna turn out.